Right, hello. So obviously the members that were on yesterday's stream have already seen this helmet, and it looks like the chat is already broken before the stream started, so I'll do a pop-out chat now. I have no idea, because I don't even have ad block running on YouTube, why these chat boxes keep breaking, but they keep doing it. Basically, you know, where it just doesn't load any data into it. But yeah, there we go. So, if any of the members are on from yesterday, they'll recognise this, but I've added another thing to it now. So it's now got the red laser on it as well as an infrared laser. So there's the red laser. Don't know how easy it will be to do this without... Oh, that's the flashlight. Right, Thomas. Hello, everybody that's joining, because it looks like there's a lot of you joining at once. So there's the infrared laser, because the webcam can just about see that if it directly hits the webcam. But obviously, it's quite hard to actually aim that at the webcam when you can't see it. But if I turn it off and on, you'll basically see that there is a difference. But there we go. That was almost a direct hit then. Yeah, there we go. So that's the infrared laser there, because the webcam can see a little bit of the color spectrum of that. Yeah, exactly, Mike. Def helmet. So there you go. Aiming laser on it, and obviously def ray laser. But yeah, so obviously the red laser on here is not that powerful. Got the flashlight on it if I want. This is a ballistic helmet. Wait, when you say a bump helmet, what do you mean, like a head protection helmet? It's certainly not a regular protection helmet. It's a ballistic helmet. It's a thermoplastic one. Yeah, as Josh said, it's the Chinese one. Yeah, well, it's meant to be under barrel, isn't it, Newt? One of those, but obviously, I thought it was just quite funny to have it on the helmet. I mean, actually having the flashlight bit on the helmet is quite handy, saying that. If I put the thing back to where it should go for that. So the flashlight function on that's actually quite handy with that on there, because that would actually be useful. Oh, they're not designed for airsoft. You know, they're designed for actual use. Yeah, I suppose with an old miner's helmet, you'd probably mount it there, wouldn't you, Flazzy? But yeah, I actually wanted to see if you could get those old style miner's helmets anywhere, and sadly no one seems to do them anymore. You know, like you can get plastic construction helmets that have like an LED light on the front. But I was hoping somebody, you know, there'd be companies that still would do like good quality, like steel, you know, hard hats with like a proper light on them. I don't have an M50 anymore, Mr. Stalker, so I can't wear it with my M50. I don't know by winter, but yeah, the new strain's looking quite worrying, as in it's outcompeting the other strains. And again, politicians were told weeks ago to close like the borders. They didn't do it. I don't know what the Wolf 14 is. I'm assuming it's a military one that's just been rebranded as it Daremaster. But yeah, with night vision, I basically just avoid now buying anything that's actually a branded thing rather than mil-spec stuff. Gash Goblin, I've done a video on it before. Obviously, these bits are just stuck on as accessories, but the actual helmet's the Chinese ballistic one. The video on there's from like October last year. Cheers, OK9. Yeah, it's the Helmet of Doom look, because I've got a deadly laser on it, and I've got the bright flashlight on it, or I can turn this into something else. So I could have that as the flashlight, or I could have it... That's the flashlight with the laser. And that's just a visible laser. And there's also infrared laser. But again, it's hard to actually show that properly on the camera, because the camera doesn't really see infrared. It sees a little bit of the infrared spectrum. So sometimes you can just about get it to hit the camera dead on, and then you'll see it. But what is the current FM12 price, Buzzbar? Because I've not been bothering looking, because I'm not buying one. Right, Mike? Don't spend too much money, Russia, is my main tip for you. Max, you need to stop asking questions like that. As I've said, the answer will be when I have one, there'll be videos on it. Otherwise, the answer is no. The actual helmet is there, Master, yeah, because it's a thermoplastic helmet. Oh, have I damaged the webcam there? Or is that just a bit of dirt on my screen? I think I've killed a pixel in my webcam. See that? With the laser? If you see there, you can probably... If I put my forehead up, do you see there's like a black spot there? I've burnt a pixel out on the webcam using the laser. But, yeah, there we go. So, I mean, I won't do that again, but yeah, lasers are very good. Like, that would be... You know, like what it's done to the webcam, it does your eyes even easier if a laser hits you in the eyes. Right. Well, I mean, all of this is made in China or like Chinese copies of stuff, but the helmet's actually a Chinese ballistic one. Yeah. So yeah, this is the sort of joke helmet. The actual helmet's good, but you know, a load of these accessories have no use being on it. That's way too much for an FM12 buzz bar. But yeah, obviously, like I was saying, so you can have your laser on it. I mean, the most useful feature on this, in all honesty, is just going to be the flashlight like that, just because that is quite a good flashlight for the size of the unit. And on a helmet, that would actually be quite useful having a light. But I don't really collect lasers, David. I don't know why you're asking why do I collect lasers. I don't think I collect lasers. I've got a couple of different ones, but if you consider having a couple of like weapon sight type things that have lasers on, and then like a laser of each color, a laser collection. That's not really a collection, is it? All right, no name. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, lasers are really cool, but I definitely would not say I have a laser collection because you know, if because that's like saying I have a GP5 and I have another mask, therefore I have a gas mask collection. I don't think that really works. I mean, that would be completely pointless, Max, because obviously, unless somebody else is looking through the scope. I mean, I can also put my night vision unit on it at the same time as well. No, there is not a German horse gas mask in the background. I have no idea what you're looking at. Unless are you looking at one of those? Those are just human fallout masks. Don't know, Tyre. What was your last message? If you were saying something about that trial, I really don't want to get into politics. But yeah, all right, Peach. But yeah, the on these streams, yeah, I really have no interest in talking about like trials and Black Lives Matter or any stuff like that. Yeah, it's ultra high molecular weight polyethylene French makers. Right, so if you don't know French makers Lego guns, UHMWPE has a lot of back face deformation, but it stops a bullet. So it's up to you. Would you rather have your skull caved in and not have a hole in your head, or would you rather have a hole in your head but your bones be relatively okay? Because obviously the point is with a helmet like this is, you know, there's only so much stress the human body can take anyway. And you know, with some vests, I know they basically put some sort of back plate on the UHW, so you know, like actually stop the back face deformation being too dangerous. But you know, but the problem is, you're never going to have armor that's so good nothing can get through it. No OK9 because I've obviously got that already set up on the tanker helmet. It's not coming off of that because it's set up properly for that. How much are they, Tyre? Because I know the person saying in the US they were like $250, and that's not reasonable. Don't know much about them. I know some of the Ratnik tools are quite good, as in like the Ratnik pocket knives and like the multi-tools. But the Ratnik thing is just a bit like the British Virtus program, isn't it? It's just like meant to be, oh, it's a new like load of equipment. So again, the quality of it's gonna depend on what the particular item is. Piotr from B Store sent it me. All right, Martin. £125 I wouldn't say is reasonable for an FM12. Well, I suppose it's better than the prices have been, but yeah, £50 isn't bad. Warehouses in Eastern Europe, drunk Russian, but for the most part, eBay and surplus stores. All right, Rich. But yeah, the problem is just shop around before you buy anything like surplus, because again, otherwise you'll get ripped off. You know, that's just the rule with any surplus stuff, isn't it? Just sort of basically look around and check that you can get it for a good price. Anyway, I'll take this off now because I don't want to burn any more holes into the webcam. But yeah, so the tactical helmet works pretty well in terms of just being silly. But yeah, I'll probably take that laser off of there soon, because I'd rather have the laser as an actual laser pointer rather than just it blinds people, sort of thing. Sure, I'll take that off that now while I think to do it, because then I can put the batteries back on charge. Because yeah, the problem is when you've got them in this sort of helmet is, you know, you can't do much with the laser. What sort of information, Remfox? It's a gas mask filter. What sort of information did you want to know about it? You know, bear in mind you could just Google it. But, like, would you breathe through it if it's a filter from 1968? And the answer is probably no, that's not a good idea. eBay Fin or other places like similar to eBay? As in for like colder weather, do you mean like gaming? Or do you mean like just for, because I suppose it depends what state you're in, doesn't it? But that's annoying, Mike. So do you have any idea? Like, I suppose you don't really know what's caused it, do you? Because I know you can get like annoying cramps like that, can't you? That keep playing up. What good alternatives to digital dosimeters? Well, not really, because you know they're specific models I've talked about. I think, David, pretty much every Soviet mask in existence was probably used during the Chernobyl cleanup. When you say a German M40, do you mean a helmet, or do you just mean a US M40 gas mask that happens to be in Germany? Because you can actually get them from Germany. Right, there we go. Let's take that off again for now. Right, there we go. That's more practical, having that taken off of there. So that's quite useful. I didn't realise that you can actually twist that bit. So yeah, you can turn that slightly if you want it aimed up or down, like a light on it or whatever on that bit. But yeah, I'll put this back together, but I might put a smaller, like, proper flashlight on there. But well, the GP5, Freddy, is a civilian mask, so it doesn't really have a helmet to go with it. I mean, maybe there's some, like, same military helmets are just painted for civil defense in the old Soviet stuff, but bear in mind the GP5 is not a military mask. You know, if you said what mask went with, like, the Shum 41, or sorry, what helmet went with it, like any of the helmets the Soviet Union used during, like, the 60-odd years from, you know, well, not 60-odd years, it'd be about 30-odd years, wouldn't it, from 1960 to the collapse of the Soviet Union? Well, for people saying, what happened to something you have and you don't have anymore, normally I've sold them, is the answer to that. It gets a bit annoying every time people say, oh, why don't you have something you used to have? Because I've sold it, and then people never listen. When you say an officer mask, I think you just mean military, don't you? I don't know if they used it for civil defense as well. This is the problem, Chocolate Muffin, doing a public stream, is you just get a lot of people spamming random stuff where they never want to listen. You know. I don't mind the ones where people just haven't been on for a while and then they ask a question because, you know, they don't know about any updates. Right, I'm getting rid of the person that's basically blatantly knows answers to questions because he's asking things he'd know from previous videos and then is asking them anyway. Dog walk earlier, Welsh lad, Dan, and then not much else because I've had one of those days where I've just had random jobs to do, you know. So it's been one of those days today, Dan, where I wanted to get a video filmed earlier and then I just didn't get a chance to get it filmed because I just had loads of stuff on, you know, like where every sort of 20 minutes you have to go and do something. But, no, I don't particularly myself tell you, and I won't be answering it on here because that, like, I've gone into this before, but, you know. But the thing is, when I'm doing stuff for other people, I won't disclose any of their information. Right, again, I'm getting rid of people who know the answers to questions and ask them anyway, because it's just a fucking waste of everybody's time. Okay, Mike, regarding your thing, because that's a proper question. Right, so because it's just simpler, because basically the Soviet Union didn't have a lack of rubber, so you might as well make something that is easy for people to put on. And that's the problem, Justin, when you have a public stream, as I've said before, you just end up just getting people spam it with, like, either trying to be irritating by asking questions they know the answers to. Right, and another person to be blocked. There we go. Yeah, Matthew, it's a bit addictive, isn't it, collecting stuff like that, where you say, oh, I'm not going to get any more of this stuff, and you always keep doing it. Do you have a particular use for it, Yellow Jacket, and which model of filter is it? Because the problem is there's quite a lot of different Chinese filters. Some of them are actually all right. Some of them are awful. Yeah, this is generally the problem when you do public streams, of course, is you'll get people come on just trying to be a wind-up. And again, don't ask illegal stuff. If you ask about illegal stuff, you're just instantly blocked, because I am not having people come on this channel to start doing the thing of like, oh, how do I potentially break a law? You don't. You know, if you're going to ask that, you don't ask it here. The point is, a deactivated gun is deactivated for a reason. You don't buy a deactivated gun to reactivate it. Hard to say in Infected Z game because, again, if you went a while ago, there are quite a few masks prior to Corona you could just buy very easily, quite cheap, but Corona's made everything just change in price. Right, there wasn't a standard flashlight on the helmet. If he meant this thing, it's like, what do they call them, a PEQ? It's meant to be like an underbarrel gun sight laser thing that I've just put on the helmet because it's kind of useful having a torch on there, as in a flashlight. I mean, the laser bits are pointless, but yeah, I think this is the best way, isn't it, Flazzy, of advertising a members stream, is that on member streams you don't get people wasting everybody's time with stupid comments. No, Mac, but one of my friends has one that I really like, so I'd buy one if ever I saw one for a good price. And it was going back to what people are on about. It's the Russian Ratnik multi-tools. If people haven't looked those up, look up the Ratnik multi-tools. They're actually really nice. They don't look like a pair of pliers, though. Like, they have most of the tools on a regular multi-tool would have, but they're not set up like that. Let me get you a picture of one up. So Ratnik multi-tool. So yeah, this is the one I'm thinking of. I don't know if there's a couple of different variants of these, but the Ratnik multi-tools I really like the look of, because they look really sturdy. You don't, Tristan, because I'm assuming you're not a company, Tristan, so you don't buy directly from Avon. You buy them on the second-hand market is the answer to that. Because, big manufacturers don't really have an interest in selling one individual mask to a random person. They don't work like that. They sell in bulk to companies that, But yeah, it depends how much you can get the Ratnik tools for. Because if you've got the people selling them for like $200 or pounds, I definitely don't think they're worth that. But if you can find sellers that sometimes have them in slightly beaten up for like 20 to 50 euros or dollars or whatever, it's definitely worth that, I'd say. But again, it's just an interesting looking multi-tool. Yeah, that's one of the main things I'd say with that contractor is that it's literally, it's got a really good solid knife on that multi-tool. It's almost like having a proper pocket knife with other bits on it. It really depends, French maker. Again, you can find masks for much better prices than that. It's just, again, it's just not buying buying one as soon as you find any for sale. It's just keeping an eye out and then buying them when somebody lists them for reasonable prices. Because you'll probably find that the people who want loads of money for those sort of things never actually sell them. They'll be sitting on their eBay pages or whatever for ages. That's generally why when stuff goes for a decent price, they sell quicker. So the only ones you see are the ones that are stuck at high prices because nobody buys them. Yeah, that's a bit worrying, isn't it, Justin? Used bondage gear, yeah. I'm quite interested, though, Tyre, in seeing what the Avon version of the GSR is like. Yeah, it's up to you. I'm assuming you mean a Ratnik multi-tool, do you for that contractor? It's really up to you. Would you spend that much? I mean, what would an equivalent Leatherman be in like the same sort of condition? Because that's what you have to kind of weigh it up against. It's which one has more of the tools you'd want. No, I don't have a plague doctor mask. I was sort of tempted to buy one when Corona first started as a joke, and then people are actually buying them thinking they protect them. French maker, I've literally done videos on that. The answer is it depends on the filter and what it's exposed to. It's like a how long is a piece of string question. Most of the stuff in the news, Dominic, is just people whinging about this new football thing, which is of no interest to me whatsoever. So there's actual proper stuff going on in the news, like the Indian COVID strain that's quite worrying. Like the more news we get on that seems quite worrying. But no, it's like, oh no, the big football teams want to play in some exclusive league. They're not allowed to do that. For the person saying, yeah, I've done videos on the S6. The S6 was very good for when it came out. The only annoying thing I find with the S6 is the straps are really bad for like when it was made. I just wish they'd done better straps on it. Yeah, Flazzy, it's crazy, isn't it? Like they make more of a fuss over overpaid football teams changing the leagues they're in or something, which is of no interest to me because I don't watch football. Like I've heard the arguments of why people don't like it, and it's to do with like promotions and that, isn't it? But the problem is with football is that the teams that have loads of money are always going to do better anyway because they can sign the best players. That's. But yeah, it's literally, yeah, like you said, it's scary, isn't it? The idea that something controversial in football is more important to both politicians and the news media than like actual real world shit going on. If it was a really good dust mask, yes, it could protect you from COVID, but it would have to be a really, really good dust mask, as in P2.5, P3, P100. For the person saying about Ukraine and Russia, I don't want to keep saying that, this isn't a politics channel. I think it would be bad if a war breaks out, but, I don't know what Putin's actually doing, weirdly enough. He doesn't phone me up and say, like, Liam, I am going to invade Ukraine today. So I can't speculate on it any better than any of the proper people who actually know a lot about Russian politics can. It's either saber rattling, or maybe something more's going on. I don't know. Yorkshire wartime experience. Let's Google it and see if it's somewhere I've been 2 years ago. Oh, it's an outdoor thing. No, I've definitely not been to that. Sounds like it'd be good fun, but at the moment, annoyingly, COVID wrecks lots of outdoor festivals, even though they're outdoor, and shouldn't be an issue. There's still lots of things, aren't there? Where they're still like, oh, we can't book those because what if they change the rules on COVID again? Did he say he was going to rush B or whatever the meme is, Oliver? But like the thing is, like with the whole Ukraine Russia thing, is like I have no clue because I am not like it's like how would I know if all the people who are clued up on this stuff literally won't be able to give you a straight answer? Well, he might do this, he might not, he might do that, he might not. I'm not going to know. I suppose I could do a video like, whoa, check this out. This is what's going to happen, but no, because I don't know. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know. I don't think it's very sort of sensible to have strong opinions on things you don't really know much about, because that's how you get people that are really, really irritating, Like, you can't play this console. Yeah, well, that's the thing, Justin. It's like there's lots of sports where I think when they're at a lot more amateurish level, I think they can be really enjoyable. But I think when sport gets kind of too big business and too commercialized, I just think all the joy goes out of it, because it's hard to explain, but it's not really kind of a straightforward sport anymore. Does that make sense? I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm sort of on about, but I don't know. Exactly, litter picker. I don't get it either. Like I said, there's a lot of sports I'll happily watch if they're on the telly and I've got nothing to do. But like, why people have such strong opinions on it, I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing, like, because at the moment, and again, getting rid of somebody who's asking questions they know fucking answers to already. But yeah, that's another thing. It's like YouTube recommended keeps fucking recommending me reaction videos. Like, I have zero interest in reaction videos, but it keeps recommending me either ones like, random neckbeards reacting to a trailer for a new film or a game. Like, I've not clicked on them, but I can see from the thumbnail what it is. Or there's these really annoying ones it keeps sending me, even though I don't think I've ever watched any of them. And it's like Americans react to, and it's like Fred Dibner or something like that. And it's like, so there's apparently like a style of video now, which is Americans react to things that are on British television. It's like, why would anyone watch that? Right, Infected Z. I'll try and explain this as simply as I can. But there's different types of firearms licenses over here. There's some stuff you can own without a license, such as obsolete calibers, and I've got 2 obsolete caliber rifles. So basically, with an obsolete caliber, as long as you're not actively shooting it, it's not classed as a gun by the law. It's a bit strange, but it's because they're like old antique guns. Shotguns fall under a Section 2 license, and then rifles fall under a Section 1. Generally, with rifles, they can't be semi-automatic for the most part unless they're 22. And with shotguns, you're limited on a Section 2 to how many, shells can be stored in the shotgun's internal magazine, if it's, a pump or a semi. That's weird, isn't it, Mike? I'm assuming it's just YouTube randomly decides it's going to send them to a load of people. Right. All it is, infected, is basically an obsolete caliber is a caliber that's not in common use anymore, or hasn't been for quite a long time. So, obviously, non-obsolete calibers, like for the most strong examples, would be something like 5.56 NATO, 7.62 NATO, 7.62 Soviet, like 5.45 Soviet, like military rounds that are still in very, very common use. Obsolete calibers are kind of like, for the most part, guns from like the late 1800s, mid 1800s, things like that, where the cartridges are just like not been manufactured in such a long time that there's barely any of them around. Basically, French makers Lego guns, it's like that. Yeah, it's the sort of guns where when you see videos of Americans shooting them, they have to custom reload the rounds for most of the part, because it's not rounds you can easily buy. So they generally like spend loads of money getting brass casings for them and then like reload them every single time they shoot them. So yeah, the Martini Henry is an obsolete caliber, yeah, because 5.77 Martini Henry is considered an obsolete caliber. But it's that sort of thing. It's the rounds where, although they might turn up, you're not going to be able to go into a gun store and just buy boxes of them. That's basically the point. Because the idea is that an obsolete caliber is in a caliber where people aren't going to easily be able to get rounds for it. Therefore, it doesn't need as strict controls as something where somebody can find ammunition for it more easily. Litter Picker says he gets it too. Random neckbeards giggling at crappy old British comedy. I guess these things reach a particular level of popularity and then they get recommended to almost everybody. Yeah, I sadly think it probably just might reflect on what lots of random people watch, and then they think you want to watch that. I mean, they're not really going to come back, JR, in the sense that unless a company in America, let's say, thinks there's a market in mass producing obsolete rounds for some reason, I don't think any modern militaries are going to say, let's adopt black powder rounds or like low velocity, poor ballistic rounds. Because the idea is, as time goes on, in theory, firearms become more sophisticated in terms of like the physics behind the cartridges. So the point is that I don't think any military is going to say, let's readapt, not even a Spitzer round, like, sort of a flat-nosed, sort of gigantic round without proper, like bottlenecking, whatever you want to call it, on the round. I'll be seeing him Thursday, probably, Dan. Saw him Sunday, yeah. I showed him my 2-watt laser on Sunday, and I had to take it off him because he was starting to play with it in a bit of a dangerous way. But so yeah, he's all right. So I showed him the laser and he thought it was fascinating. I left the room for 1 minute and then I came back to find him waving it around. I was like, no, give that to me. What did I already tell you about not using it without goggles on? Right, so if you want a Geiger counter that does alpha, beta, and gamma, you're going to have to pay a lot more unless you get really lucky with something that's surplus. The only one I can think of off the top of my head that does alpha, beta, and gamma that's decent is the Radioscan 701A. I think one of the later GQGMs does alpha, beta, and gamma, but you'll find most mid-price, like low to mid-price Geiger counters are only beta and gamma. Alpha generally requires you to spend a lot more because of the more specialized sort of probes they use, if you want to say that, like Geiger Muller tubes, because they have to use one that has a very thin window to let alpha particles in. Annoyingly, I don't have a thermometer on the wall in here. I've got a digital one in here, but not an analog one. But something that's really fun with an analog thermometer. I am Stuart, but annoyingly, Chinese customs stopped it. So Hype's having to like wait for it to get back to him, and then he's going to repackage it and send it back out to me. Because we're not him sending it to me is not breaking any Chinese rules, and it's not breaking any British ones. But of course, customs as usual want to be dicks and go, no, you cannot have that, because although it does not break any rules, I want to feel big. I want to feel like a big man, and I'm going to waste your postage and send it back to you. And oh yeah, so for the people as well who asking about guns, like air rifles, at least in England, because again Scotland's different now on this. In England, if you've got an air rifle under 12 foot-pounds of muzzle velocity, it's basically unlicensed. So something that's used for shooting squirrels and pigeons, like a varmint rifle, but like not as actually powerful as a proper 22 long rifle. Just like I say, a 22 air rifle, 177 air rifle. In England, at least, if they're under 12 foot-pounds, they're not classed as a gun either. You can buy military metal detectors on eBay. That's something I've looked at quite a few times, and then have said, no, I've not got the space for it, nor the money to start getting into collecting another sort of, Well, Oliver, if with nuclear fallout, you'd want to know if alpha's there, but if you've got a Geiger counter that detects beta and gamma, and that's going off, there's probably alpha there as well. The thing is, a beta and gamma detector, if that's going off, something's wrong. You don't, there's only a couple of things I can think of that only produce alpha. You have to tell me to model a crossbow. Simply saying, is this price crossbow good? Well, it depends what crossbow it is. But yeah, on eBay, you can get quite a lot of old military metal detectors, like minesweepers. Some of them look really cool, but like I said, it's not a road I want to start going down, buying metal detectors. Right, if it's full auto AK-47, I don't think in the UK you can have air guns that are full auto. Like, in the sense that if it's under a certain power and it's airsoft, then that's fine. But I think in the UK, full auto air guns are just completely banned, from what I understand. Because I know in some countries you can get like quite high power, essentially like airsoft ones, like a Daisy Red Ryder. Imagine an automatic Daisy Red Ryder, something that shoots metal BBs, but automatic. But as far as I'm aware, in England and the UK, that's just a totally not allowed thing. Like you can have airsoft guns and the weaker kind of more like the toy ones, or you can have proper air rifles, but it seems they don't like the idea of fully automatic, kind of like midway ones, if that makes sense. Yeah, I've still got the Pulsar Challenger. I have to find what drawer it's in. I mean, obviously, because I bought that second hand, but pretty much unused, and I've had it for a while, it's obviously not in unused condition anymore. I don't think it's got any dead pixels on it, but obviously some of the outside casing of it's gone a bit naff, because the problem with things like the Pulsar, I know you can always rehouse them, but the problem with things like Pulsars is they're never built as well as a lot of the military models, in terms of how resistant the case is to wear and tear. I've still got it, but yeah, there's not really much point in me selling it, because it's useful every now and again when I do videos comparing Gen 1 Plus to Gen 2. And the Pulsar's a very good Gen 1 Plus, but again, it's just a very good Soviet tube, isn't it? Essentially, it's like a quality-controlled Soviet device. I'll type it in for you, XJ. So the main one I recommended is this. Yeah, that's not important. Canada does the same thing. That's the reason CADPAT is worth a lot for genuine CADPAT, and lots of companies do reproduction CADPAT camo, just because of the fact that the Canadian government decided at one point oh no, people will imitate servicemen if we let them buy the camo. And it's well, people will imitate servicemen if they're that sad anyway. and they'll just literally buy fake printed versions of the uniforms anyway. And when they imitate servicemen, they're normally doing it in dress uniforms, not like actual combat fatigues. So yeah. So Canada literally just destroys their like old surplus camo that people want on the collector's market and would pay good money for no reason, because I guess Trudeau and whoever came before him just don't understand stuff. Well, that sign, eBay, like where nearly all this stuff comes from. Like Stuart, as I've said before and things, contact Hype. He's the Chinese guy who's very useful if you want to like find Chinese tech that's actually the decent stuff, because obviously if you know somebody that's Chinese, they can generally like find the good stuff on the Chinese market for you. So a lot of the time I've just given up trying to find stuff on AliExpress and whatever, if you can get somebody who can actually speak the language and find the proper stuff. Yeah, Rich, they used bitumen or whatever it was called. It's a type of tar. Let me. It's slightly flammable as well. Is it bitumen tar? Yeah, it's asphalt, also known as bitumen. Yeah, bitumen, basically. Bitumen. So we all know what asphalt is, but yeah. But yeah, bitumen or bitumen, whatever it's called. But yeah, that's it, Oliver. Bitumen. Yeah, or bitumen, however it's pronounced. But yeah, they generally had the concrete layer, didn't they? Then they had the bitumen or whatever it's called between that and the like then the brick or whatever else they had on the outside. Yes, I have there, Master. Search my channel. I've done one of Gen 1 versus Gen 1 Plus versus Gen 2 versus Gen 2 Plus versus Gen 3. And obviously each generation does get better, but Gen 2 Plus to Gen 3, that can really depend on circumstances, because again, I don't think it's very sensible, in my opinion, if you see how good some Gen 2 Pluses are, like wanting to spend 3 or 4 times as much as into, you know, like some people paying $5,000 to $10,000 or whatever for Gen 3, because you know some of the Gen 3s, like they're better at light amplification, but then they're like really fragile because of how the electronics work in them. JR, I didn't buy the official stuff as the Kevlar filler for mine when I bothered putting Kevlar in it. I just bought like the closest size police vest filler I could find and just put that in there. That police stuff's actually technically better than the British Army stuff anyway, because for quite a while the British Army stuff I think was level 2A. No, it goes 2A to 3A 3, doesn't it? Yeah. So I think it was level 2. A lot of the British Army filler, whereas you can buy police stuff that's 3A with a stab layer as well. So if you buy police stuff that fits the size pretty well, you might as well just do that because it's way cheaper. The British Army's a bit weird, the MOD, with some of the stuff they surplus and don't surplus. So with the MOD, quite often what they do is they'll surplus bits of stuff, but not all of it. So for example, with ceramic plates, they're not meant to technically surplus the ceramic plates, but sometimes they do. So what you sometimes find is you can sometimes find ceramic plates for sale, but they're really overpriced. But like the other stuff's cheaper because they actually surplus it, if that makes sense. Yeah, so it's just overpriced, basically. But yeah, it's a shame though, isn't it, if you just wanted the camo for like airsoft or something like that, but... I don't want to get into talking about politics as saying is there going to be riots over that cop being acquitted sort of thing, but no, that helmet's not for that. Helmets for riots are like this. Hang on. If I can get this without knocking everything else over. You want a helmet like that for riots with a visor on it so people can't smack you in the face. And modern riot helmets have the laser strips on them, and I've not found any of those for sale yet. Otherwise, I'd retrofit all my riot helmets with like laser protection as well. Because obviously the problem is with these sort of helmets, if you don't have the laser protection, let me demonstrate, is you have your officer there, look, he's got his helmet on, then he gets hit by a laser, and oh no, look, the laser's going inside, burning his eyes out. And yeah, just to prove that these literally, if they don't have the layer on, offer no protection. See that? It's actually burning my arm slightly behind there. But yeah, that's literally not going to do anything to protect you. Yeah, I like Terrapies. If you get a Terrapie though, I wouldn't recommend the Terrapie Plus for most people, just because it's got some better advanced features on it, but it lacks some of the very good basic features, and it's more expensive. So for a lot of people, it actually is an inferior Geiger counter being like that. But Terrapies are really good. Annoyingly, I managed to contaminate my Terrapie, and it kind of became a bit useless. Like, I can still put batteries in and power it, but it's always going to read high. But yeah, the radius scan, I would say, is better than the Terrapie. But again, it depends what you're paying for them. Because if you're paying, if you could get 2 Terrapies for the price of a radius scan, maybe it's not worth it. It all depends on what the prices are that you're paying for them and what you want them for. I've not heard about that yet, Kelsey. I mean, I know that the FMJ09 was the last one, isn't it? Which is pretty much like the MF11, which I've got behind me. Like the actual military version of this, isn't it? The FMJ09. I've actually got an FMJ09 coming in the post, so when that comes, I can do a video on it. But no, that's interesting. I haven't actually seen the FMJ10. I'll have to look into that when, there's some info on it. Let me look it up, inductive tea cake, but I think the person was literally asking about pocket ones that they could take with them somewhere, not like a mini monitor kind of rate meter style one. But let me look up that one, because if that's a smaller model, that might be what they're after. But I think the person I was asking more about ones that, like the radius scans or the Terrapies that you can actually put in your pocket. Yeah, some of those look quite good. There's some on eBay, aren't there, with like potentially quite low bids on them. But yeah, they look surprisingly good. But yeah, that's the sort of thing where if I saw one at not too, well, actually saying that, this one isn't an alpha one because it says gamma only on the sticker on the side. But yeah, again, I think the person wants one like that big from what they were saying, because I think they were saying so they could take it, places with them. Oh yeah, it is 420 today, isn't it? So it's both Weed Day and it's the cunt Adolf Hitler's birthday. So I think most sensible people prefer weed to Hitler. But, I'm sure there's people elsewhere on the internet going like, degenerate weed smokers. My favourite drug addict was Hitler, high off his face on meth salts or whatever it was he was on, and morphine. I don't actually know much about how much DPM web gear should be, Alan. I mean, if you're on about like if you just meant, I know you're not on about it, like just with DPM stuff in general, like the old 95 DPM, the trousers and shirts for that, like in Britain at least, you can get them for like both together for like £20, like $20 to $30. The actual webbing, I'm not sure, but I don't think it should be that much. But again, the problem is with a lot of stuff between Britain and America, once you end up paying postage on it, it starts getting stupidly expensive anyway. So before you buy anything like that, because I really wouldn't know the price, go on ebay.co.uk, see if there's a seller that posts to the US that has it in, and work out if it's cheaper or not. What's Dogecoin at today, Flazzy? Let's have a look. Yeah, and I just cannot understand the people who think the Nazis like, oh, I hate all of these subhuman degenerates like my Aryan master race, when all of their top tier politicians were high off their faces on drugs and into really really weird shit. But, that's always the way with authoritarians. It's do as I say, not as I do. So let's have a look at Doge today. It's down 22% today, but that's all right because it was up about 22% yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah, it's the same as well, JR, going from the US to the UK. Like, there's some things where I've had to pay that because, you can't get the surplus in the UK. If, like, say you're on about some of the old CDV stuff, it's very rare it turns up in the UK. And it only turns up if somebody who's previously bought a load to collect it then decides to sell it. But yeah, like quite often you're paying like $50 to $100 with shipping and tax on it because, yeah, fucking taxing surplus. Yeah, I'll be off fairly soon because like I said, I've had a busy day today anyway. So I'll do a members stream tomorrow for anybody that's a member and they're on. It'll probably be 8 p.m. rather than 9 p.m. So that way, at least, we can probably talk more in depth about subjects, about it being what's your favorite gas masks? Do you buy stuff on eBay? Where do you buy stuff? Is whatever mask worth buying? What is your opinion on this? Right, Crazy Egg, I've not bought new combat boots, just to answer you before I go off in ages. I found a lot of like the brands that do combat boots, they can often be really shit. There's some quite good surplus ones, but again, you're buying them like grade A used. Yeah, Magnums are good, Oliver. Magnums are the ones I've had that actually lasted a while. But some of the other brands similar to Magnum, I've had ones where, they were proper size, and then within a month of having them, I'd start getting a bit of like blisters on my feet, even when wearing proper socks with them, and then you'd get like, wear on the inside, and then the boots became useless. Well, as in tinnitus, inductive tea cake. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, Connor? Like, why should shipping be so expensive between the US and the UK, like both directions? And again, I guess it's just politicians being dicks because, there's lots of countries all around the world I can buy stuff from, and the shipping is like free or like up to £5. What about laws as well, Stuart? Because if it was surplus and money is no object, I'll do it. Does an ROC post or like a big nuclear bunker count as surplus? Because in that case, I just buy a fucking huge nuclear bunker. Because then, you've got your housing sorted, haven't you? But if it has to be like a piece of personal equipment, then I guess some sort of rifle, like, a working L1A1 SLR or an AK-74, I guess. But if you just mean like gas mask, Geiger counters type of surplus, I'd have to have a really good think about that. Because I probably wouldn't go for rarity in that case. I'd go for like absolute functionality, like, something that you could dependably use. But yeah, obviously, if I could have one bit of surplus and money was no object, I would have one of the regional government nuclear bunkers in the UK, because then you get a massive bit of land and you get, a bunker for like 200 odd people that you can just live in. So you have a mansion-sized house that's just underground. But with a nuclear sub, Nick, surely you'd only be able to buy the older diesel ones, wouldn't you? Not the actual like nuclear powered ones. I mean, they'd be cool, but I don't know how much I'd trust a second-hand sub. But yeah, lots of people are saying a sub. Wouldn't you rather have an aircraft carrier than a sub? You get more room. But yeah, I suppose a submarine is very cool, isn't it? It's just, I don't know how good a single person would be at like keeping that serviced and everything. Especially because, if something goes wrong and you're taking it underwater, you're pretty dead, aren't you, with a sub? I suppose in some ways the diesel ones are probably less dangerous than if you had a nuclear reactor one and something goes wrong. But otherwise you're going to end up K-19ing yourself, aren't you? Anyway, yeah, don't buy the Kursk. Anyway, I'll be off now. See you, everybody. I'll be on tomorrow. There'll be a video on tomorrow afternoon, evening as well. I'm going to film it tomorrow because I ran out of time to film it today. But if you find physics with light and lasers interesting, you might like it. Otherwise, you'll find it boring. So there you go. All right. See you, everybody. Goodbye.